Hey there, everyone. We're live with Leadership for Innovators Spotlight. I'm Emilia Chagas, and I'm elated to be your host today. We are bringing this interview every other Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And now here's the deal. This show is all about interaction. So we want you to be part of the conversation. Drop your questions here, your thoughts, your emojis and comments. And we're making this a real time experience. So, this is your chance to have your questions answered, your ideas heard. So, all right, enough about me. Let's get to our seriously inspiring guest today. I'm here with an old friend, Sophie Vurpillot. Welcome, Sophie. I'm actually thrilled to reconnect with you and have you here. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Emilia. Thank you for having me, and well, thank you for actually pronouncing my name even correctly. This is quite an achievement.
Oh my. Yeah, I just used all my French completely.
Yeah,
So, let's
that
go.
was quite impressive.
Oh well. So yeah, and we Sophie and I we met a few years ago when Sophie was running a startup called Planet Expat. She played a pivotal role in shaping tomorrow's leaders through international career coaching, personal development. So, topics we will be covering here today. And for the past 17 years, Sophie has driven a large scale transformation programs in multinationals such as Standard& and Poor's, and let me use my French again, Société Générale Investissement Banking, as well as ministries and new ventures. So, yeah, as you can see, her global perspective, acquired from living and working in multiple countries, I should say as well, she definitely brings a unique dimension to her work. Sophie, before we kick things off, before we talk about leadership, about your work, I like to, well, start by asking, can you share a fun fact about you, an interesting fact that we cannot hear or read about on your LinkedIn page?
Aha! You want to know the secret, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to comment about my name because I
Okay.
don't know what you think about, does our name shape our destiny? And maybe this is a
Hmm.
small superstition of mine, but I like to think that my name contains almost a contradiction or an oxymoron because my first name, like most of you probably know, comes from ancient Greek. Sophia is wisdom. And my last name actually comes from very old French. I don't think you would know that one, Emilia. And Vurpil in very old French means a fox. So
Oh.
literally, Vurpillot would be a little fox.
Mm.
So when the fox has a completely different kind of meaning and connotation. The fox is astute. The fox is a very grounded. Actually, he's very connected to the
Yeah.
reality.
Uh-huh.
This is about being smart. This is about being resilient, and this is even about being playful. So how to
Wow.
reconcile the two concepts now in our way of being? And as a child, actually, I was a bookworm. So I grew up in a very small place with 500 inhabitants. So I would spend my days reading a lot, and I had read all classics, all French classics, even some Russian literature and some foreigner literature by the age of 12, I would say, and it gave me with this insatiable desire to discover the world, and I think that explains what came after that. And the way I see, so I've worked in corporate. I've been an entrepreneur since 2012, and I really believe that both aspects, the wisdom and the fox, really like feed what I'm doing today.
A hundred
Um,
percent.
I use knowledge. I'm very, very, very thirsty still about knowledge. I believe we have so much to learn, including from philosophy, ancient Greeks, etc. But then it's all about making things happen. I know that you share that, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, fellow entrepreneur. It's about getting the job done, making things happen. and here comes the fox, right?
Your
Because
internal fox is interplaying. But with all of that background, all of your knowledge, well, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us, Sophie. And now, can you briefly describe your professional journey with us, how it led to these leadership development projects that you work with today?
hmm So I think you did a brilliant introduction. No, I actually started my career. I think I got lucky because I started in consulting and I happened to love it. But I was working also with the at the time with the French public sector, which is very, very slow, slow dynamics, and it actually taught me patience, which is a quality I had to acquire. It also taught me political savviness. It came very, very handy. And after a few years in consulting in France, for personal reasons, I decided to move to New York, which is not necessarily an easy move, right? And I also learned to make some to adapt actually, and it was a bit by chance that I ended up in the financial industry, and that was an amazing challenge because at the time that industry, and it's still true today, was going through very deep transformation.
Mhm.
So that was a great opportunity to bring the consulting hat and to develop new expertise with Six Sigma, operational excellence, and to bring it to banks and to a rating agency. And after doing that was the first half actually of my career in a very, very corporate world, I would say, in France and in the US. I realized that I was missing the internal fire to actually go to work every day. So it was a bit of a complicated situation because I was, and you've been in the US, you're very connected with the US, you know that it's a country that gives you the opportunity to grow. So I was on a very, very beautiful path, a fast growth, and still I felt like I wanted something else. And that took me to entrepreneurship, not really knowing what I wanted at the time. And it took me to Latin America. I really wanted to go to Latin America and discover this continent. And I wanted to stay in a field to start empowering people. So that's something I had at least uh, some clarity about. So this is how Planet Expat was founded back in 2012, focusing on empowering the youth actually and connecting them with great startups abroad and starting doing career coaching, etc. And that those steps took me to Chile and Brazil, where we met in this
Yeah.
beautiful seed community. And with the years, something that's very interesting in the coaching field, I feel like you grow with your clients. So
Mm.
little by little, I felt like I was ready to tackle another, to go to another arena, and I really wanted to help leaders. Having created a few companies, having been a corporate leader in the past, I finally felt fully equipped
Mhm.
to accompany, to empower leaders and help them through their journey.
And
So
it's such a different challenge. We were talking about that backstage to help leaders in the startup tech scenario. And
mm,
when you compare to corporate, what are the differences that you found and the similarities maybe?
uh-huh. I think there's a lot of similarities to start with. Obviously, being a leader, you need to inspire others. You need to steer, teams in a specific direction. You need to obviously be able to, um, you know, uh, energize teams, motivate teams, get them to perform. You need to persuade, and you have to influence constantly, right? Maybe some, I would say maybe that some qualities that are even more important in tech are adaptability,
Mm.
because things are just moving so fast. So you need to constantly adapt your offering in the situations in which the context in which the teams evolve. And maybe resilience, which is this ability to go, from one potential failure to another one without losing your momentum, without losing your enthusiasm, not to bounce back all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that quality is also needed in the corporate world, but I would say it's even enhanced in
Yeah.
tech. I don't know, Emilia, you working for so many years in tech, if that's something that you also identify.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I understand that the corporate world is also ever changing, but
Mhm.
when we talk about speed and this, how sensitive we need to be as leaders to understand this momentum, as you say, to adapt, it's a matter of life and death if we're talking about the
Exactly,
startup world. Yeah, uh-huh.
exactly.
So
This sense of urgency, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I completely understand, and I agree with you. I personally love that you help leaders to lead with meaning, and
Mhm.
you speak on that, and your projects are have these, these
Bespoken.
purpose
Uh-huh.
behind them. So I would like for you to share with us, how can leaders know, how can leaders identify if purpose is truly what is guiding them? Is there a
Mhm.
way to know, to double check for that in yourself and in other leaders, perhaps?
Yeah. Wow. What a great question, and what a difficult actually answer, because so maybe first of all, I think really really important is for a leader to know deeply who they are, and just because as a leader you are confronted to so many situations, you will have to make so many decisions every day. You don't necessarily have the time to explore and really wonder what you want to decide, so it has to be very almost mechanical. Second, you're constantly under scrutiny, right? People observe you constantly. They will decide if they want to follow you or not, if they want to trust you or not, if they really want to give you their future, in your hands. So that makes it very, very demanding. Now, so no, acknowledging this, that knowing yourself is so important, and acknowledging as well that you know having some kind of sense of purpose, so understanding, knowing what is your mission, what is it that you want to contribute, what kind of impact you want to create. That's when we talk about purpose, right, and meaning. That's what we're talking about. That's the why from Simon Sinek. He's
Yeah.
the guru of the purpose, and he does it amazingly. Well, the benefits of having purpose is that you're in a position to inspire others truly, and they will follow you because they share your purpose. A team potentially has a purpose that allows them to go through difficulty. And we
Mhm.
talked about we talked about resilience, and purpose is precisely a great tool to fuel this energy to keep going, even if you're going through turbulent times, or to say the least, right?
Yeah,
Um,
you've written about that actually.
yeah,
Let me read about it. You've written, it is equally important to be conscious of your barriers and limitations so we can develop mechanisms to increase our resilience and our performance while protecting our well-being. Well,
yeah,
can you unfold that for us? I mean, how do you help leaders? I mean, developing this resilience is something
yeah,
that will come with daily situations, with
yeah,
every day. But how do we come from these moments where we need to be resilient, and
yeah,
we also balance with protecting our well-being?
yeah,
How do you balance these two? I think they're superpowers. If you can do
yes.
that, it's almost like having a superpower as a leader, right?
Yes, absolutely. And maybe to close that previous question on the purpose. Now, how do you know if you
Yeah.
found it or not, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's about the energy that you feel every morning. How do you wake up every day? Are you
Mm.
excited about the day ahead? Are you mostly scared, and do you feel overwhelmed? That's a very good sign.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and and really asking yourself, like, questions like, okay, if nobody was paying me for the work that I'm doing, what would I spend my days, doing?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's a thermometer of flow that I've seen. It's from an engineer who previously worked in Yahoo and Slack and many places, and she created this graph, really interesting, where she measures the effort or the challenge that our team members have ahead of
Mhm.
them with the skills they have to deliver. And if
Uh-huh.
if those two are balanced, she understands that people have flow, that they can work from their purpose without being hinged by, insecurities, or maybe the opposite would be become blasé about
Uh-huh.
the challenge I, which is something that we also don't want for ourselves or for others.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like to,
Yeah.
I was thinking of these thermometers, as you said, that our own self-awareness, like
Mhm.
how do you wake up? How do you feel at
Mhm.
waking up, at uh, going to work every single morning? I think many times we don't stop and we don't do
Mm.
these questions, do we?
Absolutely. We don't take the time, right? And
Yeah.
talking about energy, I think energy is a good i- is already a good sign, like of have I found my purpose or not? Or the question is maybe do I take care of myself enough, right? So um, when we experience those lacks of energy, and I mentioned this one in particular because many leaders, when they come to my practice or to our team, they tell us about feeling a lack of energy.
Mm.
And it could be very well because what they spend there they're doing, it doesn't actually make sense to them, and this is the meaning question, right? Am I spending my time and energy on the right thing that really energizes me? But it could also be that they have very well found their purpose, or what they're doing actually makes extreme sense to them, and they have not built the mechanisms to recover, from time to
Mm.
time, because performance is not a constant state, right? It's like
Mhm.
you can afford to have peaks, very much like
Yeah.
an athlete, but then
Mhm.
it needs to be followed by moments where you actually recharge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this is something that we have to relearn. Maybe kids do it better, like a good night of sleep, and like
Yeah.
they're ready to go. But for us, it's a bit different, and we have to think about sometimes activities to reconnect with our body, no, or activities where we're present, physical activities, or really relaxing, spending, enjoying time with our families or with friends, and sometimes we don't take that time, right?
That's so interesting. It's fascinating how we're talking about self-care when
Uh-huh.
we want to develop as leaders. We want to
Uh-huh.
become better leaders. I completely agree. It always starts with us. It
It
starts
always
with
starts
our
with us.
self-development. And in self-development, many times we think about, I need to do this other course, I need to study this, I need to go through this project like this, or I need to follow someone or some other leader. But many times it's just reconnecting with ourselves.
Mhm.
Look,
Mhm.
the answers are inside. Do you agree with that, Sophie?
Very much so. And like you, I believe, like the moment you are aligned with yourself, the moment you actually get ready to really shine, be the best version of yourself every day, well, you're going to start seeing different results when it comes to also the people around you. They're going to receive another energy.
Yeah.
They're going to see someone who walks the talk. They're going to see someone that they can look up to, or that they can project themselves into, because sometimes we are surrounded with managers, leaders who don't do this work precisely, and we have a hard time projecting ourselves in those models, right?
Mhm, mhm. And that's
So
something that actually makes us feel distant of the
mhm,
purpose of the challenge ahead, even the team, right?
yeah.
Can we talk about how this work, this self work that a leader does? I don't know if self work is the right expression, because it's actually self care. It's more,
Uh-huh.
it's better than work, right? It's self care.
Yes.
So
Self-care.
this
And
self-care.
self-development. I believe in both, right?
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
so by doing this, by caring for yourself, by
Mhm.
connecting to yourself, these actually will improve yourself as a leader, and
Mhm.
as a consequence, we will improve our teams as well.
Mhm.
People will also, in a way, be inspired by that leader that is centered, focused,
Exactly.
knows what they're doing, and that resonates.
Yes, I really believe so. Someone who stays cool under pressure, who is consistent, also interaction, who is somehow predictable. That
Mm-hmm.
one is interesting, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we don't like to be surprised by the reaction of our managers, right? We like to think that we understand how their compass is designed, what kind of decisions they will make, and that they will have very that they're reliable. Basically, this is about reliability, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and and someone who is performing, because we're not excluding, obviously self-care feeds performance. It's really not a conflict. It's really, one is the foundation for high performance to achieve, for learning to achieve, for then the next step is self-development, right, to
Mhm.
actually happen.
Yeah. If I'm connected to myself as a human being, I will be more open or willing to connect with others as well.
Mhm.
And how does that, I'm thinking here of psychological safety, as you
Uh-huh. Oh yes.
described, this environment of not being surprised by the
Yes.
reaction of your leader, of a workplace where I actually feel people are people are open to talk about difficult topics as well, without jumping, right? Talk
Exactly.
about mistakes without
Exactly.
being punished, or being, So does that, can we expand that feeling, that internal feeling, to the exterior, to these dynamics that are so important for our team members, for this connection that we create as a team as a whole.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing from you, it starts with the leader, with their internal work, their self-care, expands to the team, and creates this external organism where you can see things flowing, things working, performance happening.
Absolutely. And I think there's two things that you mentioned that are extremely important. You talked about the ability to connect with others, right? We
Yeah.
we need to be relaxed. We need to feel good in our bodies, to feel peaceful in our mind, to be able to actually listen and connect and bond and develop new ideas, right? And you talked about psychological safety, which is a concept that's also very, very close to my heart. And interestingly, with my team, when we teach about high performance, and I have on my team elite athletes. So those are the kind of people that, when they talk about high performance, they are really mean it. And we have identified that psychological safety is always the first criteria
Yeah.
that we talk about and that we train leaders about when it comes to managing, creating high performing teams. And what it means is things that you've already said a little bit now. And people feel listened to, people feel
Mhm.
valued, they feel like they can make mistakes,
Mhm.
because mistakes are perceived also as an opportunity to grow. They feel supported by their leader, by their team members. In that environment, if combined with, of course, a nice doses of challenge, but many times challenge is going to come from the external world, right? It's
Yeah.
going to come from problems with clients, new market opportunities to pursue, etc. The challenges, many times they can just come from the outside world, but inside we're gonna focus on creating an environment that allows for people to perform and be creative and be resourceful, basically.
What types of routines or or best practices do you recommend for leaders who are listening to you right now and think, oh my, I want that. I want that for myself, for my team. 2024 is there. I'm putting this on my New Year's list. What would you recommend, Sophie? First steps for someone wanting to create
Yeah.
such environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, the first step always would be to start by identifying what are your core values. So what are those, concepts that those principles of behaviors that are very important to you, that you're not willing to sacrifice, and really identify, let's say, your top five values, really define them, identify, am I really living and breathing those values in my life today, in my leadership style, and identify the gaps. So that I would start with this, not as a routine, but as some kind of initial exercise that's going to be very helpful. And you can work on it with a friend or with a coach. Like it's actually nice to be able to exchange with someone in that aspect. And then the routines that I found extremely helpful. I really like to start my day by grounding myself and setting an intention for the day. So I know that probably everyone on this call will have heard about maybe meditating for a few minutes every morning. That's a very helpful practice. Again, setting the intention, setting clear priorities for my day, but also intentions in my behavior. And then I would really seek to embed in my week physical exercise on a regular basis, things that you enjoy doing, because it doesn't need to be a punishment. It's a very contrary. This is a present that you do to yourself, but basically activating your heart, building muscles and strength. That's extremely in working even on your flexibility. So this is the magic triangle of, when exercising. I would really watch my sleep, and this one
So
also has a
important.
very foundation for everything, because it helps with having more balanced emotions, having a greater energy. So really respecting a cycle and some kind of regularity when it comes to sleep, avoiding practices like watching a violent movie before sleeping or a lot of light before sleeping, and really taking care of my sleep as a place where I am really in a position to recharge fully and again rebuild my whole capacity for the following day.
You're talking about leadership. You're talking about being a better leader. And it is all about our self care. And
Mm.
I feel like an athlete with your
Yeah,
description, how an athlete would begin their day, how they would kick off their day, right? So, yeah, maybe we can think about that for 2024, all of us. We are athletes of our own lives, our own
exactly.
jobs, our own teams. And to
Yeah,
perform better, we should start by, yeah, improving these metrics, life metrics. How's my sleep? Am I eating? You haven't mentioned
eating. No, of
nutrition. That
course,
nutrition
nutrition is
plays a big part.
extremely important. Yes, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Exercising, taking time, meditating.
Exactly, taking
Well,
care of exactly, my thoughts as well. Like, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
the way we think can pull energy from us or
Mm,
recharge us.
yes,
Sophie, it's the end of this half an hour. I cannot
I
believe
cannot
it,
believe
and it
it.
feels like it's just the beginning of another whole conversation because I just want to stay here and talk more with you. So
The
maybe
same
we
here.
could schedule
We will make that
another
happen.
one.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely. Sophie, we're immensely grateful for your generosity in sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. Your presence here
thank
definitely
you so much.
enhances the Leadership for Innovators Spotlight series. But before we conclude, are there any upcoming projects, initiatives, and how people can get in touch with you?
Perfect. Well, first of all, I'm very reachable on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a very easy platform to connect. I'll be delighted to read from you. And second, very much like what we discussed right prior to kicking this call. So like you, Emilia, I'm very much into trying to spread those important messages to a very broad audience and generating more impact, very broad impact. And because of that, my team and I, we have recently launched a podcast called Supernova, which we precisely invite people with extraordinary trajectory, leaders, and we talk about many different pillars of leadership, ranging from performance, resilience, well-being, but a lot of different topics, how to cultivate freedom, even, like topics like this.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm
Supernova in
hoping
all the platforms,
Supernova.
I imagine.
Uh-huh.
Oh, amazing. I'll
For now,
definitely
it's
follow that.
mostly on YouTube and on our website. Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again,
Thank you,
Sophie.
Emilia. It was a
Thanks
real pleasure.
everyone. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Our next rendezvous, or rendezvous, right? Is
Rendezvous.
next,
Perfect.
yeah, it's next week, December 13th, and we'll be featuring Charnel Guthrie. She's a QA leader who will teach us more about the power of introverts. Yes,
It's an amazing
introverts.
topic.
Amazing topic. I'm so looking forward to it.
I'm
And
looking forward to attend.
yeah, no one wants to miss this one. So yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks again, Sophie. And
Thank you so
bye.
much, Emilia.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye.